All right, so now I'm gonna show you how I curl on a regular. Like I said in my blow drying video, kind of let the hair fall where it wants. That's where it wants to go today. So I got my part in there. Now I'm gonna section off my top row with my natural hair. And I really kind of like make sure that it's all smooth when I put it in the clip, so then it doesn't get kinked. So I'm just making sure it's in a smooth ponytail. I wrap it around. Ooh, shirt's scandy. And a clip. Okay, so I use the Boundless 1 1/4 inch, and then usually sometimes I'll mix in my 1 inch curling iron too, but mainly I'm using my 1 1/4 inch. So I start on this side and taking a bigger section. I mean, that's about my ear forward, my real hair along with the extension hair, and I always brush it before I curl it, because that helps smooth everything out, and if you get it right the first day, then you're less likely to have to wash it as soon due to tangling. So, brush, this is 1 1/4, take it, run it over, and smooth it. You're gonna be able to feel a difference in your extension hair just from doing those two things. Okay, so I'm directing forward. You wanna make sure that this, like at your root, is not like down like this when you're curling. You want to make sure it's like directly off of your head. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna push it all forward, but I'm gonna curl it back. So I'm pulling it 90-degree angle off of my head. Is that right? I don't know. And I'm gonna curl it back. And I'm starting at the top, feeding it through, and I leave about that much of my ends out. Well, I'll say that much around the front. Filling it, it's hot. Okay, let it go. And then just let it sit. Don't run your fingers through it. Okay, now I'm taking my next section, and they're pretty big sections. I mean, I don't know if you can tell there, but it's a pretty big section. In fact, I'll probably take this one a little smaller, because that's back where my weft is a little thicker. So I'm brushing, smoothing. I'm gonna get the Bionic long barrel curling iron too. I used my friend's and it was like amazing for coloring long hair. I just went to go get it and they were out. So I'll do another video when I get that. Once again, starting at the top, feeding it through. It gets kind of hard when your hair is so long. Filling it until it's hot to touch. I left about that much of my ends out. And letting it go. And you want to let them set before you run your fingers through them, so don't touch them. So I'm brushing, I'm making sure it's pulled off directly from my hair. You don't want to be down here, you want to be up here. That's going to give you the most volume. Smoothing. And I'm curling everything back. I'm sorry if I keep on giving you guys a peep show there. Sure is. Figure that out. Okay. So this is pretty much almost the whole left side of my head, and I have it in three curls. Let me see here. So split it in half. So okay, like we've got about this much left. We've got about 3 pieces left. 2 pieces. I'm gonna take this section a little bigger, and then I'll show you what I do at the end to kind of make sure it's as curly as I want. I don't really like my bottom row as curly as my second row. I feel like if you get it too curly, then it starts to tangle, and it like shortens your extensions if it's too curly. I guess if you are wanting it to like kind of loosen throughout the day, you could do it a little curly, but I just usually like mine not as curly. So we fed it through, we're filling it till it's hot, on this side. Smoothing, pulling up, curling back. So usually what I'll do is I'll do this first, everything's setting, and then after I get done completely styling it, I'll go in with my 1" on the places that I want it a little bit more curly. Okay, so this side's done, it's cooling. We're gonna go over to this side, brushing, pulling it kind of forward, smoothing, and then I'm curling it back. It's always a lot easier to curl the front because it's not as thick as the back. There we go. Taking my next section, brushing, smoothing. I think the number one thing about curling your hair is starting at the top and feeding it through and then making sure that that angle is right. Because if you're down here, you're going to get more curl at the bottom than the top. And if you only have a 1" curling iron, what you can do is still use that, take the same size of sections, but maybe turn your heat down a little bit so you get still a looser curl. I've done that before too. But usually my favorite is the 1 1/4 inch. One more section, smoothing. With extensions, you just want to think smoothing. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say is I use for my shampoo and conditioner, and I've literally tried, I feel like every single brand out there. I've tried all the Kevin Murphy. As far as Kevin Murphy goes, if you want to use that line, I really like their hydrating. But what I found is the money maker for me is just the Pureology Hydrate. I've used it for years on all different types of extensions, and whenever I venture away from it, I always go back. So I don't know what they put in that stuff. It's just magic. So that is curled. This side is set, so I'm just gonna kind of run my fingers through it. You can kind of see it gives you that nice wave. And then I just kind of look at it. Where do I want a little bit more curl? Like I feel like right here at the top, I could use a little bit more curl. So I'll just kind of eyeball it. And then I'm gonna go in with my 1" and starting at the top. And I have it turned up all the way. And I'm just gonna kind of focus up there on the root part. I left that much out because it's curled. And that's just gonna give me a little more bounce in there. Same with like right here, I want a little bit more. And this is just how I like to do my bottom row. Same thing can go for even if you don't have extensions too though. It's gonna be a little different just because extensions hold curl way better. So if you find that your hair isn't holding curl, you're gonna probably wanna use the 1" with bigger sections and the highest heat, leaving your ends out. Okay, so I feel good about this side. I don't know if you can see, but I got the tighter curl up there at the top, looser at the ends. We'll go over to this side, it's kind of set, and see kind of where I want. Kind of gonna be in the same sections as I did on the other side. So about 2 pieces. Kind of just getting it really curly overthink it. Just, you know where you want more curl. Just trust yourself. So I'm just gonna let that set. So you can see it gave me like a nice good wave, but not too curly. Okay. So that's the bottom row. Now, sectioning off my second row. So you're just gonna take, and this is where, so I don't have to part my hair again. So right here, I like to leave out my bangs and just kind of take that crown area and section it off, because I like to curl my bangs with my second row. And make sure this is nice and smoothed out. Oh my gosh, the shirt. Ah. Oh, seriously, boobs. Here we go. Sectioning that off. So I'm gonna take my bang area, which is like from here forward, and I'm gonna section it. I'll leave that part out, and I'm gonna take a little bit of that second row mixed with my bangs, and I'm gonna use my 1 inch right there around my face, because my natural hair doesn't hold curl that well, and I'm gonna go pulling it directly off of the head, starting at the root, feeding it through, and leaving about that much out. It's gonna look nice and tight, but it'll fall because my own hair doesn't hold any curl. Just kind of like a little bend with that front part, just really fast. So you can kind of see how that's going there. Okay, so we're on to the second row. You can see my second row is a lot shorter and kind of tapered. The key to having good looking extensions, honestly, is in the cut and how much hair you have. So once again, I'm with my 1 inch hair. I brushed it, smoothing it, starting at the top. And babying out the ends a little. A little bit curlier, my second row is, but I like it when the curlier part falls on top of the not as curly part. Does that make sense? I don't know. You'll see. I think it just gives you more body and more oomph. See the curls falling on top of the other curls. Gonna be beautiful. So now I'm gonna work on this side. Like I said, I split everything in half, working around the head. But now I'm gonna start curling it back this direction. Do you guys want to hear a funny story while we're doing this? So when I first started dating my husband, I used to wear clip-in extensions, and he didn't really know, which is kind of funny. So we had our first sleepover, and just like not really thinking, like, you know, because it was routine for me to take my extensions out at night. I'm just like, he's like sitting on the bed, we're getting ready for bed, and I just like start unclipping my head. Or unclipping my extensions, and the look on his face was freaking priceless. He was like, what in the literal hell are you doing? And here I am just unclipping hair, pulling it out of my head. It was funny. We like to talk about that. Now you're just used to it. There's always just like clumps of hair everywhere. What a champ. Okay, so still with the 1 inch. Curling back. Hopefully this is helping you guys. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side, kind of sectioning that bang into 2. I'm pulling it forward, but I'm curling it back. Does that make sense? And then the one right around your face, you're going to just kind of do like a bendy bend. I don't want it super curly. And then I always run my fingers through first right there just because I don't like it too curly around my face. So, tighter 1 inch curls on the second row, 1 1/4 inch on the bottom row, and same thing goes with your hair if you don't have extensions. I like to use the 2 different sizes to give me this look. So we've got the 2 rows and the bangs curled. Now we're gonna get into the top. So I'm gonna section off, I don't know if you can tell, but I took just like, I'm gonna do this in 3 pieces. So I'm gonna go right there, like kind of where your head goes flat. I'm gonna take the first section and then I'm gonna clip this up. Okay, so I've got like this much hair, I don't know if you can tell. What I'm gonna do now is the Living Proof Perfect Hair Day Bodybuilder. You can adjust like how much you're using, more body to less body. I go kind of right in the middle. Like I said, my natural, oh my gosh, this shirt. My natural hair doesn't really hold curl, so I use hairspray on just my real hair. Okay, so taking a bigger section and I'm gonna use my 1 inch. Kind of the same thing. Woo. Can't breathe, I'm strong. It's gonna be pretty tight, but if your hair is like mine and fine and doesn't hold curl, then this helps. Bigger sections, smaller curling iron, hairspray. And letting it set. Not really a need to run your curling iron over your natural hair if it's straight like mine. So it's pretty tight. You can see I left the ends out. Gonna let those kind of set for a second. So these ones feel like they've cooled down enough. So you can see it's gonna give me kind of the same type of curl as my second row where I use the 1 inch. Okay, now I'm gonna take that section. Gonna get a smaller tooth comb. I use this little rat tail comb. And I'm really gonna get right there at the root, some back combing in there. Then I go in with my Living Proof Dry Volume Magic Unicorn Hairspray. Getting that at the root, okay? This will make your hair last for days. So we didn't comb that out. We got the back combing in there, sprayed it, now it's just sitting. Okay, now we're gonna take our next section. And with the top of your hair, you really want to like push everything forward, kind of like the same way when we blow dried. And when you're curling it, when you're back combing it, you want to pull it forward while you're doing that motion, because then when you flip it back, you're gonna have the volume that you want. Okay, where am I at? So the Living Proof Perfect Hair Day Bodybuilder Hairspray. Spray smooth. Now with this section, I'm actually gonna back comb it first, because it sounds like a good idea. And you're really getting it in at the root. So you can see. It's like in there, guys. All right. Now, taking this, pulling it kind of forward towards the front of my face. 1 inch curling iron, curling it back.
Mama,
What, baby?
can you take candies to school?
Yes. She wants to know if you can take candies to school. I think she can. We'll find out. Okay. That's pretty tight. I left the ends out. I'm gonna kind of split this into probably 4 pieces. Like I said, I have finer hair that doesn't hold curl, so it doesn't take a lot to do the top of my hair. This one I'll just take into one. Pulling it forward, curling it back, starting at the root. That is the money maker. That's the volume builder. Okay. Now we're pushing these back. 1 section left. So, when you think about styling your hair, you always want to have like a focal point. Gosh, shirt's gonna kill me. So, like, I always think of my focal point, like where I want the hair to like out of, usually like right here. So if I have a side part, it's gonna be wherever like your part ends and the back of your hair begins. So kind of just remember that, like when you're back combing, when you're curling everything to that part. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I'm gonna back comb really close. I'm pulling everything forward when I do it. And it's just like right there up at that root. I don't even care anymore. You guys can see my bra, whatever. So now the bodybuilder hairspray, almost out. The full volume blast right at the root. Then I kind of like smooth it just like barely, but still pulling everything forward. Okay. Now I'm gonna section this into 3. So you can see it's like all mushed together there, right? Pulling everything forward. 1 inch, curling back. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Hopefully this is helping. Money. Okay. So, kind of like, see where the part is. So I'm gonna take this, pulling it forward. You really like want to make sure that this is pulled tight. Like you don't want like a loose or like you don't want it way back here when you're curling it. You want to make sure it's all pulled forward and smoothed out, and then curl it back. You're over directing. Okay. Now we'll go over to this side. I'll probably just do this in one big chunk. Forward, pulling it forward, curling back. Okay, money. Kind of see what we're working with here. So now that these are cooled down, I'm gonna take my wet brush and just lightly kind of brushing it all back. And using your fingers, and you can kind of feel, I mean, that's how I judge if I've got like some major back combing that needs brushed out, is with my fingers. But I'm just kind of, I mean, I'm basically brushing it out just on the surface level. and brushing it into my extensions. I kind of have like, so then I'll even take all of it and brush it back to kind of redo that part because you don't want it to look like too perfect. If that makes sense. You kind of want to blend everything back in together. I like one side of my hair to have a little bit more volume right back here, so I kind of like it to go like a swervy part. Does that make sense? Okay. You'll see here in a minute. Okay, so we've kind of combed out that back combing. We've still got a lot of body in there. Lots going on here. I feel like it's curled good enough. So now what I'm gonna do is finish it off. Like I said, I like this side a little bit higher. I can tell I need a little bit of smoothing back here because there's a little bit of like separation. All right. So I'm blending everything together with my fingers. Now to finish it off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look down here and see if there's anywhere that I want a little bit more curl where I use the 1/4. And usually I take this section right here and I'll go in with the 1 inch just like right down there by my neck and add a little tighter curl just because I like that look better. And I'll go here on the other side. Do the same thing. Careful not to burn yourself. Done that. Okay. Got that. So to finish it off, gonna go in with a pick and kind of like foof, just lightly, so it kind of separates a little bit. Everything kind of pushing forward, like I said. It's been kind of a theme for the video. Kind of just barely giving it a little bit of fluff. Fluff, is that even a word? I don't know. Then to finish, I use the anti-gravity Kevin Murphy spray.